This week, we're high-speed trolling for one of the fastest fish in the ocean, known for its rapid strikes and its long fights.
Yep, the species can be summed up with 3 words: speed, stripes, and sushi. We're talking Wahoo on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, starting now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report season finale. We have a jam-packed show talking to our friends from Yamaha, Maverick Boat Group, and SiriusXM Marine a little later. Plus, we're announcing the winner of our photo contest, and we're talking all about Wahoo, of course.
You're absolutely right. You know what? The cool part about Wahoos is certainly, like you described, how good they taste.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? Speaking of Wahoo, you know, just this past week, you and I were down in the DR where I caught a nice Wahoo.
You did.
But you also caught some, too.
I did. I caught my first marlin, white marlin. It was amazing. The feelings that I got were crazy. I started crying because, you know, I don't know. I've been wanting to catch a marlin for a long time, and I finally did it. And I caught 2, actually.
You did.
It was so
in
fun.
One day. Way to go, girlfriend.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it. Well, I'm only doing it with you. All right. Well, someone who knows the marlin game very well is Dave Farrell at the CCA workbench. But you know what? He's also on his Wahoo game tonight, too.
Yeah, white marlin don't count, Brie. I hate to tell you. I'm sorry.
They do in my book.
Just kidding. It was a joke. It was a joke.
No, it wasn't.
They count. But we're talking about Wahoos and how to catch them. And it's not all about going fast either. There's some other stuff you can do.
There's some other ways to do it. All right, well, let's get this last show on the road starting in the Seasucker Panhandle region with Captain Pat Deneen. Go for it, Pat.
Hey, Brie and Rick, what a fantastic year. Yeah, Wahoos are caught spring through fall off the Panhandle. We have a really good Wahoo bite late winter to the west on the oil rigs and 400 to 500 feet as well. They're definitely one of my favorite fish to eat. It's cooked rare or even sushi. The worst thing is to overcook a Wahoo. The Panhandle has had some really good Wahoo fishing this summer, with plenty of them being caught by dragon plugs to and from and also between bottom spots. But they're definitely still out there. A 95-pounder was caught this week off of Pensacola in 100 foot of water on a butterfly jig. You're typically going to find Wahoos associated with some structure, either bottom structure or some form of surface feature, like a weed line, color change, or some floating debris. And when we are targeting Wahoo, I like to troll baits that get down below the surface a bit. Tremblers, lip plugs, jet heads are all great choices, but you can also use a trolling lead 20 to 30 feet above your ballyhoo islander combination or whatever, you know, ballyhoo combination you want, basically getting your bait down below the surface. Panhandle Wahoo average 30 to 40 pounds, but some over 100 pounds have been caught. You know, in fact, that one this week was pushing 100. There's a photo that Captain Chase Lake from Team Supreme out of Destin sent me. It's a nice Wahoo and a half. They had a double hookup. Taxman got his share, and that's just the way it works out here.
Wow.
Staying offshore, Rick, the red snappers are still being caught and kept during the weekends due to the extended recreational season of Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. You're going to find them on structure, with deeper spots generally being better than the nearshore spots right now. Use a Carolina rig with 5 to 6 feet of 40 to 50 pound leader and a 4 to 6/0 circle hook. Live baits like herring or cigar minnows will typically outfish cut bait, but a butterfly Boston mackerel can be very effective. But when you do hook up, don't waste your time getting your fish to the boat once hooked up. The sharks and dolphins have been pretty ruthless lately. They've figured it out. Snappers are averaging 5 to 6 pounds, but some sows are still out there. And then moving inshore, the red fishing is getting really good with the fall patterns kicking in. In our inlets, there's been a good bite on the beginning and the ending of the falling tide. You want to fish live croakers, spot minnows, and finger mullets on a Carolina rig near the bridge pilings and jetties, and that's in all of our inlets. Panama City, Destin, Pensacola, it's pretty much the same gig. Along the beaches, schools and small groups of redfish can be found milling along the first sandbar, where they can be sight fished with flies, jigs, and live baits, weather permitting. It's just started now, getting a little bit rough. And then those redfish on the beach are crazy close to the beach. We watched one feeding on sand fleas, and when the wave receded, it was rolling on the wet sand until the next wave came in. So that was pretty cool to watch. In our bay is the reds on the flats and around the residential docks. Definitely lures or live baits. There's a photo of Dr. John Paulos of North Carolina with a fat red he caught down at the Desert Bridge Sunday on a croaker. And that bite was really savage at that falling tide. And then finally, inshore, triple tail fishing has been strong in Apalachicola and around St. Vincent Island. It's a sight fishing game where anglers cruise looking for fish, hanging near structure like crab floats, navigational markers, and floating debris. You want to use medium to heavy spinning or casting gear, rigged with a popping cork and a quality circle hook to match the bait size. Bait up with either small menhaden or shrimp. Cast your baits up current so it either floats back to the fish, or cast it past the fish and slowly drag it back to them. When you get next to it, stop, pop it a couple times and see if they're interested. But it's also a great fish for fly rods. You want to use streamers or shrimp patterns. Triple tails to 10 pounds are commonly caught, and they can push or even exceed 20 pounds. Right now is the best time of the year for fishing in the Panhandle, in my opinion, the fall.
All right. Thank you so much, Pat, for a great job this year. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Pat says inshore, the flounder in St. Joe Bay on live bull minnows and finger mullets on a Carolina rig or a jig head. Fish the seawalls downtown and the sandy potholes in the grass for those flounder. And then offshore, take advantage of the extended red snapper season. Use live cigar minnows and herring with leaders as light as 30 pounds, guys.
All right, now let's see who's swimming around the Front Runner Boats Northeast region with Captain Tommy Derringer. How's it going, Tommy?
It's going good, Brie. I just got to know real quick, when you caught that fish in DR, did you say,
got me a marlin? I did.
Got me a marlin.
It was like through tears, but
Well, guys, we have an awesome Wahoo fisher. We're well known for it here in the Front Runner Boats Northeast region. And, we catch some really big Wahoo and hold quite a few big Wahoo tournaments, especially during the cooler months. Probably the best time to catch Wahoo in my region. You can catch them year-round, but it's the best time is going to be during some of our cooler months like December through March. Most anglers are going to troll for those Wahoos starting at about 140 feet. They're going to work on out to the ledge from there. Anglers will generally be looking for a few different things. One is concentrations of bait, especially near or on top of any kind of structure. Those schools of bait are always a good sign when you're looking for a Wahoo. Also a good color change is something to keep an eye out for. If you find that color change or an edge, fish it hard. Those Wahoo really like that. Now, most anglers are going to troll a skirted ballyhoo or a variety of lures like an islander or black bart. Now, one that's really becoming a local favorite around here is the Lure 'em In lure, line of lures that our buddy Gibby Giviazda makes right here in St. Augustine. Now, traditionally, you're going to want to troll ballyhoo and lures in that probably 8 to 10 knot range. But a lot of anglers, and especially the tournament guys in the region, they like to high-speed troll. Those guys are pulling the lures behind trolling leads at like 15 to 18 knots. They're really moving. And they're typically going to start in a little closer, like about 120 feet, and then work their way on out to the ledge. Now, this past season, a few of the tournament guys started drifting some live baits, and they did really well. In fact, they won a few. Small live bonitas, that might be the new hotness this year, so you may want to give it a shot. And speaking of the hotness, I got a photo here. My buddy James Drisdale sent me this picture of himself, along with Josh Heater and Kyle Pache, with a monster Wahoo caught east of St. Augustine.
Looks nice.
Big old sucker there.
Yeah, it is.
All right, also offshore, guys, since this is our last show of the year, I thought I'd do a little forecast about what we have coming up offshore during our off season. Sailfish is a great species to talk about because our season is just about to get going on those guys. I spoke to a couple of our offshore captains about those sails. They tell me that after this nor'easter that's rolling through right now, and definitely after the first real good nor'easter of the fall, those sailfish are going to be showing up in good numbers as they start migrating to the south. Now, our region can be a hot spot for some schooling sailfish heading into the next couple of months. They're going to be balling up those bait schools. It's a really cool bite. One thing you can look for are those shearwater birds feeding. That's probably where you're going to find those sailfish. Now, moving inshore, as things continue to cool off over the next month, look for the flounder fishing to turn on throughout the region. There is a closed season coming up October 15th through November 15th that you need to be aware of, but this is always my favorite time of year to specifically target the flatties. This is also when the biggest flounder of the year tend to be around. Fish the jetties at the inlets with a big mullet on a fish finder rig. Use enough weight to hold that bait on the bottom. The bridges and the docks near the inlets are also great spots to find big flounder this time of year. Now, my clients have been catching some good-sized flounder in the creeks on the lower tide stage this week and last week, and we've been tossing finger mullet on a quarter-ounce saltwater assassin jig head We're casting out to small runouts, especially ones that are holding those schools of bait. And I've got another picture here. This is Carol Perry with a nice flounder that she caught with me while fishing a creek hole. And that's a pretty typical flounder for right now. A lot of those guys around. Now stay also inshore. You know, I got to end the season on my favorite fish, which of course is the redfish. You know, we have all kinds of cool redfish fishing coming up, including some more great flood tides early next week, as well as an early morning topwater bite that's been happening currently. And then over the next couple months, it'll continue to be good. The bull redfish are already showing up in good numbers as well. I've seen some huge ones this week from some different anglers. We got a lot to look forward to. I hope everybody has a great off season and gets out there and catches them up. Shout out to my buddy Kent Krebeck that's there in the studio tonight. And I got one last picture here. This is Brenda with a bull red that she caught with me in about a foot of water. Man, those fish are pretty. I love them this time of year.
All right,
Pumpkins.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much, Tommy. Great report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the strike zone, northeast hotspots. We appreciate you. Inshore, redfish on the banks of the ICW at first light with the Berkeley Jaywalker topwater plugs. Fish around the schools of mullet is key, guys. And then offshore, a mixed bag of snappers, triggerfish, and a few groupers in 160 feet and out deeper. And as you can see, joining me right here, guys, is my good buddy David Mealer from Yamaha. You know, Dave, in 2023, we were really busy at Yamaha, certainly launching some new product. Let's inform everybody what we've been doing.
Yeah, we were. Yamaha's spent a major investment last year on a marine innovation center. That's up in Kennesaw, Georgia. Lots of engineers working on some cool stuff. And then we've also opened the Yamaha Offshore Endurance Center up in Jacksonville in order to better test our products in the environment, the saltwater environment.
Well, we also at Miami introduced three new motors. Why don't we tell everybody?
We did. We had a busy 2023 Miami. We introduced the 450, which is the 5.6 liter V8. It's based off of the 425, but talking to the captains that ran it, they very much said it's not even the same motor. Much quieter, much more civil, more powerful, extreme charging. It's got a phase angle control charging system on it that puts out 96 amps net at idle. So if you stack that up to a quint, you're talking 480 amps of usable power.
You know, we have a 2.8 liter 200 and 150 for the offshore guys as well. Why don't you tell everybody what the new features it has?
We do. The question we get all the time is, when can I get that on my motor? So we took the integrated steering that we put on the 425 and the 450, brought it down to the 4.2 liters last year, and then this year in Miami, we introduced it on the 2.8 liter 4 cylinders.
All right, quickly, let's talk about some new propellers that we got.
New propellers with XTO. We just introduced the EC series propellers. That's extra cup, which basically gives it extra grip for certain hulls and applications. Also for the 4 cylinders, you can't go wrong with a Reliance. That was actually manufactured specifically for large displacement 4-cylinder outboards.
You did a great job. Guys, if you have any questions, certainly go to YamahaOutboards.com, and you can also find your local dealer through a dealer locator there as well. All right, where are we going, Brie?
All right, the Rear Legends Central East region is giving us some final words coming right up. But first, we're seeing what the Wahoo word is for Academy Sports and Outdoors, rigs and techniques at the CCA workbench with none other than Dave Farrell.
That word would be wire. If it's the Wahoo word, it would be wire. Got to use wire. They got sharp teeth.
Yeah, they do.
Very sharp.
We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Sirius XM Marine. Weather. Fish mapping. Entertainment. Penn. Let the battle begin. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Shallow Sport. Legendary performance. Scoozy Performance Footwear, the captain's choice for premium lightweight comfort. And Daiquiri Deck, food, drinks, friends.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and it's time for the Academy Sports and Outdoors rigs and techniques. Dave,
Yes, sir.
Let's roll.
Well, we're talking about Wahoos, and he's one of the most sought-after pelagic game fish, mainly because we were talking about he's so good to eat. He's a lot of fun to catch. You hear a lot about how they have a huge run on that first thing. They're pretty relatively easy to catch after they make that first run if they're under 50 pounds. There's like 2 different Wahoos in the world, one under 50 pounds and one over 50 pounds, because the one over 50 pounds act totally different. I mean, they can really dog you after that initial run. They have enough body mass that they don't get tired as quickly. But the smaller, we call them snakes, smaller Wahoos, they can wear out pretty quickly after that first initial run. And especially if you're using a lot of heavy gear, which is what we catch them on quite a bit right now. We'll start off with some of the high-speed trolling stuff there. You got your hand, we got a Zac Attack lure, and you'll notice it's, I think it's on 400-pound mono with a double hook rig. You can troll this heavy mono with a nice double hook rig like this, because the fish's mouth is never going to get near the mono. This is all wire inside here, so he's not going to be able to bite his way through that. And we'll troll these at 12 to 14 knots. Usually a pretty high drag, and we'll use a nice shock leader, a Wahoo shock leader, a big monofilament shock leader that's maybe 100 feet long or 200 feet long, maybe 50 feet long, depending on how you want to do it, just to have enough mono stretch in there, and you're gonna get messed up there.
I know.
Anyway, this is a regular wire rig that you've discovered on the bench there, and with a stinger on it. And this is like a number 7. If I'm fishing for Wahoos, I'm usually 7 is the lowest as I'll go. But I'm usually using between 7 and number 9 wire, sometimes number 10. If I know I'm in a place where there's a lot of big ones. But I've caught a lot of big Wahoos, 50 pounders and up on a little rig just like that, with a 7 or 8 hot and a nice little treble hook on there, an equal claw treble hook, L774-2, because it's a triple strength.
And this is the O'Shaughnessy laser sharp hook.
Correct.
Yeah,
and you can use those at an 8-aught or a 9-aught or a 10-aught. I like smaller ones better. I'm usually not going to have enough drag on there to straighten that thing out, and smaller hooks do find their way in a Wahoo's mouth a lot easier than a great big hook.
Right.
I got a live bait rig here. You're hearing Tommy talking about how a lot of guys are starting to use live baits out there for big Wahoos. You put a big tuna on here or a bonito and drift it out. If you've had a couple of strikes or you've caught a couple of Wahoos, so there's some around this particular piece of structure, a live bait, a tuna live bait, is going to catch the biggest ones down there. They really like to eat a live bait. Mm-hmm. And if you rig one up like that with a nice bunch of treble hooks festooned down his back, he's not going to be able to get away. This is another trolling bait for Wahoos using cable instead of the single strand wire. Cable is great as well. Just make sure you have a nice set of Felco cable cutters when you're using cable, because it can get messy if you don't have a good pair of cutters. That's a nice trolling sinker. Like Tommy was also saying, we like to get stuff down. And when we're going really fast, the faster you go, the tendency to all these bullet-headed lures is to act like a boat. That head acts like the hull of a boat, so they want to come up. So we got to try to do what we can to keep everything down, and we either use those big trolling weights or planers or stuff like that to keep our baits, between 5 or 6 feet below the surface, even when we're going really fast.
You got it in really fast. Good job. All right, Brie, where are we going?
Good stuff over there.
Let's roll it out.
All right, our captain and my fantastic co-host for some of our shows this season, Jim Ross, is joining us. And Jim, help me out here. The Real Legends Central East region feels the need for...
You're leading me right in. Speed, and more speed, Brie. I tell you, it's all about speed when you're talking about Wahoo, and if you really want to consistently target these fish, throughout the entire state, but in this region in particular, we like to charge. We like to charge hard and get out there and pull high-speed lures along those rips, temperature breaks, and especially over ridges like the Okalina Bank and the 27-fathom ridge in my Real Legends region. The Wahoo have a tendency to eat those fast-moving targets because they're constantly feeding on bonita, blackfin tuna, flying fish, and small king mackerel. That's what they prey on a daily basis. I was talking with Captain Kyle Weaver, and he recommends a large dark-colored lure like a purple and black Islander. You want to pull that about 9 to 15 knots. Or, if you can get it to get even faster than that, a lot of times you can still get them to hook up. Inline trolling sinkers of 24 to 36 ounces really help to keep those lures down, like the guys were just talking about at the workbench. Keep those lures down under the water. Our average Wahoo is running 20 to 40 pounds. The larger fish are usually landed in the winter months around here when the water temperatures are anywhere from about 73 to 76 degrees. Got a picture here of one of the Wahoo that Kyle has put on the boat here not too long ago off the Central East region.
Nice.
That's a nice little fish there, making a lot of nice sashimi.
Oh, yeah.
Now, staying offshore, our triple tail, you know, those crazy looking buoy bass are showing up in better numbers this week. The fish seem to be arriving about 3 to 4 weeks into our annual mullet migration along the coast, you know, and that's known as the fall mullet run. Now, this is a little early, but you know what? Live or cut finger mullet rigged on a saltwater assassin 1/4 ounce jig head will usually get these fish to bite. Now, if you're not getting them to bite the finger mullet, try out a select size, you know, a jumbo size live shrimp on that same jig head, or you can rig it on a 2/0 size circle hook with a split shot for weight. Floating debris, color changes, just outside of the surf zone, surprisingly, because of all the finger mullet that we've had coming down the beach. That's where those fish are holding right now. Of course, area channel markers. And most of the fish are running about 2 to 8 pounds, but we've had fish up to 15 pounds this week. I've got a photo here of a triple tail that we caught on the boat here recently. And you're not too far offshore. You guys can go out there and get them in your little boats. Now, swinging inshore, our redfish are doing really good. There's a lot of tailing action going on in the Mosquito Lagoon right now. I spoke with Captain Matt Lee at CodeRedFishingCharters.com. He was telling me he's finding single reds that are crashing bait fish along the shorelines in the middle and northern section of Mosquito Lagoon. And then he's also seen some pods and small schools of fish on the larger flats like Tiger Shoal, Plantation Island Flat, and the flat that's just south of Widgeon Island. Saltwater Assassin 4-inch shrimp in the drunk monkey or mudbug colors rigged on a weighted weedless worm hook are working really good right now. And the Assassin sea shad tails in that same color, the drunk monkey or mudbug rigged on that same weedless worm hook, are better for covering more area if you're trying to just blind cast and you're not specifically seeing fish. The redfish have been running anywhere from about 16 to 30 inches this week, and I've got a picture here of one of those Banana River redfish that we recently put on the boat.
Nice.
Last species is black drum. You know, the action's going to get better and better as we move into the winter months, but right now we're seeing them in the Banana River and the Mosquito Lagoons. These fish are roaming around in little pods and they're hiding underneath the overhanging mangrove trees. So when you're sight casting to them, a lot of times you just throw a fresh dead shrimp or a live shrimp in there and just let it sit there. I use the 1/16 ounce R&R tackle yellowtail jigs. They work really good for just holding a shrimp just in place right on the edge of those mangroves. Or if you're out on the open flats, you can sight cast to those fish in the same manner. You could also put a dead sand flea, a blanched sand flea on there. I've got a great picture here of one that we recently put in the boat. And that kind of wraps it up for this week. I tell you what, it has been a fantastic year. I really appreciate being able to co-host, fill in for Rick with you, Brie, on the show, and looking forward to doing this all again next year and getting those guys and gals out there in the Central East region catching some more fish.
All right, bud, thank you so much. It's time for the Rodan Marine Systems hotspots. He says inshore redfish at the Ponce Inlet jetties, use live finger mullets, croakers on a sliding sinker or knocker rig for fish up to 15 pounds. And then offshore, troll skirted or naked ballyhoos along the clean water edge, along the rips associated with the western edge of the Gulf Stream. In those reps, you're gonna have dolphin, blackfin tunas, and maybe a wahoo.
Maybe a wahoo.
Yeah.
All right, well, all season we talked about CCA. There were 100 winners in the 2023 CCA Florida Star presented by Yamaha, taking home their share of nearly $500,000 in prizes and scholarships. The 9th annual Star Awards banquet and ceremony presented by Punta Gorda Inglewood Beach Visitors and Convention Bureau on October 7th will be held at the Charlotte County Fairgrounds, Port Charlotte, from 5:30 to 10:30. Come join the Fiffer crew for a fun evening with folks who care about their fishery, plus receive a swag bag with goodies, dinner, and live entertainment. Every year the ceremony is sold out, so make sure you get your tickets early at ccaflstar.com. But up next, we're high-speeding it to the Discover Crystal River Northwest and Dynapack Southeast regions. Plus, we're talking with our friend from Maverick Boat Group. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Berkeley, Your Fish, Our Science, Bahio Sunglasses, Blue Light Blocking, Radically Clear Lenses, Sea Sucker, Easy On, Easy Off, Incredibly Strong, Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure, Kubota, Together, we do more. Front Runner Boats, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA. And Yanmar ASV, a leader in compact equipment.
Well, as you can see, joining me is Kent Kerbeck from Maverick Boats. You know, Kent, we've introduced a new product. We've changed the 22, or we've done some different changes. Why don't we share with everybody what we got coming out with the new 22 Pathfinder?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Rick. So, like Rick said, we've got a new model, a new 22 TRS. That stands for third row seating, which means it's our hardcore fishing but family-friendly version. And we've redesigned it from the hull, running surface, as well as the deck. So the whole boats are redesigned. A couple things to note about the running surface is it's absolutely awesome ride and chop. Each through it, I've gotten the opportunity to spend some time with family, going to sandbar, fishing, and really runs well. Surprised at how well it ran.
So the new design, we've gotten rid of the sponsons on the back so guys can have twin power poles.
That's correct, and that's a big deal, as you know, to have two. When you're fishing or if you're at the sandbar, it's really nice to be able to just put both in and not spin around. So that's a big deal.
Absolutely. What about the heights of the gunnel, Kent?
They've raised it up a little bit, so that if you got kids, that's a good safety feature. It makes you feel a little more secure in the boat.
And then what about, have we added any capacity as far as a freshwater washdown, gas? What have we done there?
Yeah, we've got 10 gallons more fuel, so nobody ever complained about having more fuel. And we've got two options for live wells that come standard with one. We've moved the seat. This isn't the same boat, obviously. We've moved the seat to the middle instead of out on the outer sides. We had two seats before.
Right.
So we've got a center line seat. That's nice for ride. Keeps you nice and dry in the center. And then you've got, like I said, one standard live well with the option for a second release well.
So if anybody has any questions about any Maverick group boat, where would they go?
They would go to, for any Maverick boat, you can go to maverickboatgroup.com, but for Pathfinder in general, it would be pathfinderboats.com.
All right.
And one thing I missed was we did add a cast net locker, which is a big deal to be able to store your bucket down there. So,
It always is a big deal to be able to put stuff away, as we well know, right, Brie?
Oh yeah, I call it Brie organizing, and I love doing it. All right, get ready to take notes because Captain Jeff Hageman in the Discover Crystal River Northwest region is giving you the Wahoo Spread Cliff Notes. Tell us how it's done, Hag.
We've had one of the best Wahoo years we've had in a long time. High-speed trolling has always worked well, trolling between 10 and 18 miles an hour, depending on the current and wind. Always like to zigzag when we're out there. Try to keep your baits in and out of that whitewash behind your boat. So don't keep pulling straight. Just zigzag a little bit, and it'll get your baits clean water, put it back in the dirty water, get it back to clean water, so on and so forth. We usually pull about 3 rods. Your shotgun can be your longest, 200, 300 yards behind the back of the boat with big weighted trolling leads in front of them, anywhere up to 32-ounce leads. A lot of shaky heads we use, knocker rigs, doorbells, the plugs that can be trolled fast with 2 hooks on them work really well. Your second one, you're going to move it in real close, 80 yards behind the back of the boat. Your third one, about 150 yards behind the back of the boat. And that'll keep you, when you're making those zigzags, it'll keep your baits from getting tangled up. You want to fish anywhere from 120 feet of water on out to 700 feet of water. Look for clean water over wrecks, hard bottom, bait. Circling frigate birds are always a great tell when it comes to wahoo fishing out there. And I've got a photo here from Captain Rob aboard the Big Nasty.
Ooh,
a nice wahoo caught recently.
That's a beautiful one. All right, what else we got?
Moving, staying offshore with Captain Rob out of St. Pete. Gag grouper, since opening, it's been on fire. It still remains on fire. He's catching them right now on 150 feet, 250 feet of water. 80 to 100-pound fluorocarbon leader, 8 to 10 ounces of lead, depending on the current. 6-aught, 8-aught circle hook, and he's finding most of them on ledges and hard bottom.
Nice.
Pinfish and grunts for bait.
Nice. All right.
Moving inshore, Captain John Lane with JB Charters out of Apalachicola reports big speckled trout bites have moved in on the oyster bars right now. Bites been early morning and later in the afternoon. He's catching them on live baits, pinfish, and he's also using fish bites in the pink shrimp flavored on a Carolina rig and using jerk baits too for top water. Moving a little bit over on the coast, Captain Lee at St. Joe Bay reports a good trout bite in his area right now. Multiple fish and trout large up to 26 inches. Falling tide has been key, he says. Live pinfish under a popping cork with 12 inches of fluorocarbon leader. A 2-aught K-style hook. Most fish right now are being caught right off the drop-off. And I got a photo here from Captain Lee of a nice Port St. Joe trout.
Beautiful. All right, what else you got?
Captain Lee also is reporting good redfish schools right now, showing up as the water temperatures cool off. Gold spoons, live pinfish. We'll seal the deal once that tide starts falling again. That's been the key with his area right now. The switch of that tide has been his key. And moving down the coast, Captain Jim Pollard of Big Daddy Sport Fishing out of St. Pete reports his redfish bite's been really good. Jim's been targeting redfish right now around the mullet schools. And with a combination of using live pilchards and cut pinfish, using 5 feet, a 20-pound fluorocarbon leader, a 2-aught trocar circle hook. And right now, he's been doing a lot of sight fishing. And the fish I've got to show you a picture of right here is a redfish he spotted tailing behind a large school of mullet, and he sight cast to it. And the fish have been chewing early morning on the incoming tide.
All right.
That's a beautiful redfish he caught.
Thank you so much this year for all your hard work there, Jeff. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Ozella Key Marina hotspots. He says, enjoy the snook on the beginning and the end of the outgoing tide. Use pinfish and grunts with a 1-ounce lead drifted in the passes. And then offshore, the mangrove snappers on the high relief structure in 15 to 35 feet of water. Use small pinfish sardines on a knocker rig.
Rick,
Yes,
you like to dance?
I do.
All right, well, we're dancing in the moonlight in the Dynapack Southeast region, so Captain Jimbo, take it away. Good moves.
Dancing in the moonlight. All right. Hey,
Yeah.
Brie, Rick, and Dave. Well, talking about Wahoo, they can be found year-round down here in the Southeast region. One of the best times to target Wahoos is around the full moons of August, September, and October. And there's a couple of ways to go about catching Wahoo. One of the most productive tactics is to fast troll weighted lures at 10 to 15 knots, or you can slow down to 6 to 8 knots and fish a 3.5 or number 4 drone spoon, or a sea witch and bonita strip, or a sea witch and a ballyhoo combo. You want to get your bait down deep. A wireline outfit or a planer will do the trick. Now, back in the old days, we used to load up a big pin senator with wire line, but nowadays most everyone uses a Pin International with mono or braid to pull those planers. Now, Wahoo also love to eat live baits fished under the kite or on the flat lines, and a big bait will get more bites. A Speedo, Blue Runner, or Goggle Eye, those are all good choices. And they also like to hang around floating debris, much like dolphin. They can be caught by trolling your planer or a deep diving lure, or dropping a live bait or jig around and under that floater. And the few Wahoo that have been caught lately have been under those floaters. Now, you do want to use a piece of wire leader since they have really sharp teeth. And just like with most of our offshore fish, you want to look for blue water with north current, anywhere from 100 to 500 feet on out. Now, I got a photo here, and this is a lit-up Wahoo that we caught off Miami aboard the Thomas Flyer last week, and that was under a floating log.
Nice.
So pretty.
That's a great photo, if I do say, because I took it. Now, dolphin fishing in the past week has been decent for the most part. Just depends on how lucky you get, and you got to find the right floater out there. Most of the fish are being caught on color changes and under floaters, anywhere from 8 to 20 miles offshore. In the last few days, it's been the further points offshore, 15 to 20 miles, but that blue water is moving in and out each day. Now, the fish are eating trolled baits like ballyhoo, rig ballyhoos, R&R mahi magnets in pink and white or blue and white. And then once we locate those fish, we've been using live and cut baits. They've been eating the cut baits pretty good as well. Most of the fish have been schoolies in the 4 to 8 pound range, but there have been a few larger ones mixed in. Got another photo here, and this is Scott Salyers with one of those larger ones that he caught on a color change off Fowey Light about 18, 20 miles offshore over the weekend.
Nice.
Now, moving inshore, we've had quite a bit of bait starting to move south along the beaches. Some of these schools of finger mullet, regular size mullet, and pilchards have made it into the inlets and bays. Also following these schools of bait have been mostly snook and tarpon, but there's also been jack crevalles, barracudas, and sharks mixed in. You want to look for bait on the surface or any bird activity to point that bait out. Cast net or sabiki, a live well full of bait. Now, a sabiki won't work on the mullet, so you have to net those. And you want to work those live baits on the outside edges of the school. Use a 3/0 to 6/0 circle hook, depending on your bait size. Or you can cast 3 to 6 inch jerk baits or surface and swimming plugs in black and silver or green and silver. And you want to try to match the lure size and the color to the bait that you're fishing around. Now, we've had some bait in the south end, but most of this has been going on towards the north end of the region, and they're working their way south. And this annual bait migration, it should last a few more weeks, and it usually peaks around Columbus Day. Got another photo here. This is 11-year-old Wyatt Bruin with a snook he caught on 10-pound spin tackle, and he was fishing with Captain A.B. Raymond on the Go Hard.
Nice.
And then we have bone fishing on the flats of South Biscayne Bay. Bone fishing has been good first thing in the morning before that water gets too hot. And you want to fish on the outside flats from Ragged Key, South Angelfish Creek. Look for tailing fish right up along the shoreline early in the mornings and on the higher stages of the tide. The inside flats from Caesars Creek to Broad Creek have also been holding schools of bonefish. You can find those muddying on the flats that have good tidal flow. And you want to, good bait activity, crabs and shrimp on those flats. And most of the fish are being caught on small live crabs, but decent-sized live shrimp will work, along with quarter-ounce pink or brown skimmer jigs and crab pattern flies.
All right, Jimbo, thank you so much. Great reports this year. I'm grateful for all your hard work. We're going to go and take a look at the Black Oak LED hotspots from the southeast region. Look for the snook and the tarpon feeding on the schools of bait, and fish the outside edges of them with live and artificial baits. And then offshore, look for the dolphin hanging around any floating debris 8 to 20 miles offshore, where they are eating cut, live, and trolled baits.
Those dolphin have no schedule this year, none whatsoever. All right, we're getting lured into the Fish Bites East region when we circle back, but Dave is luring us into his Taco Marine new product lair at the CCA workbench.
Yes, and we got this big stuff sack from AFCO.
Stuff sack.
I like stuff. And a sack to put it in. Yeah.
Same.
Perfect for me.
Wow.
Lovely.
That's a lot.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Penn, let the battle begin. Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, best lures, period. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench and we're trolling the edge with Taco Marine, and we have with me is Spencer Talbot from SiriusXM Marine. You know, Spencer, we're going to talk a little bit about a new product that you guys have launched, so why don't we just get right into it?
That's right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. We have been talking about fish mapping for, about 2 years now. We do have some very exciting news for all of our current subscribers out there. We are just launched our fish mapping app. It's going to be available for Android, Apple, and different sorts of tablets. You're going to get all the same great features that you had on your boat before, except now you've got it accessible to you at the comfort of your home. We've added 2 new features. Pretty cool. Yeah. We've got a new current feature, so it's going to be able to show you guys the strength of the current, and it's also going to show you the direction of the current, which is going to be very important for a ton of different scenarios. Our second one, we've added a calendar feature, which is going to let you go check out the last week's worth of data and break it down per day and let you go through and kind of just see the trend of the water and how it's moved.
So we would literally be able to follow the trends of those weed lines, correct?
Essentially, yes. So we're going to break it down into, well, we show so many different things with the different water conditions, but yeah, so with the plankton fronts and the sea temperature fronts, you're going to see those lines come together. And through my experience, when you pull up in those areas, it might not be exactly where it's at, but give or take a mile or two, and you're going to find some debris, a weed line.
So where do we go to find out more information about it, bud?
You're going to find out more at SiriusXM.com/marine.
You did great. I'm really impressed. Thank you so much for being here. Don't go anywhere. Dave and I got to talk about the new Shade Fin Mini.
Yes, the Taco Marine Shade Fin Mini over here. You know, the regular Shade Fin was designed for center console boats and big pontoon boats and whatnot, but the Shade Fin Minis, great for, you know, the skiffs, your John boats, even a kayak. They have a kayak mount. Comes with 5 different kinds of mounts, so you can put it on the side of the boat, in a gunnel, and a rod holder, and it comes together really, really quick. It's compact, it's portable, and it's really easy to use, which is, you know, boom, he's putting this whole thing back together really quick. And it doesn't really take up much space. You know, it does have a 60 by 38 inch coverage when it's deployed, but it only folds down to 36 by 52 when it's closed, when it's all closed up. So you could, you know, actually it'll go for the height is from 36 inches to 52 inches. So you can actually walk under it really good. And it's just, they're really, really well made and 360 degree adjustable, so that you can, you know, it doesn't matter where the sun is in relation to how your boat's parked. You can adjust it to fit it just about any spot. We've got this one here in the rod holder.
Simulating a rod holder,
exactly. And they have a rod holder mount inside here. But this just tells you, you know, you have some rod holders on your boat, you get one of these, and you have instant shade wherever you want on your boat, 360 degrees.
I love how storable it is, too.
Yeah, it folds down really nice, so you can fit in just any rod locker you have on the boat. And go get you one of those at tacomarine.com. They're really cool. The Shade Fin Mini is what that is.
Comes in black and white.
Yep. Next, we've got the AFTCO Stuff Sack, which, you know, like I was saying before, it's a great sack to put all your stuff in. It's a waterproof dry bag. It's designed to protect all. Yeah, I think it holds like 6 liters or even more. Impermeable waterproof tarp that it's made out of. That outer pocket there has a nice water-resistant zipper, so you can actually use this as a travel bag and maybe put your passport or your phone in that little pocket on the outside and still have access to all your stuff when you're traveling, and all your stuff will be dry with you as you carry it. It's got the UV protected straps and buckles on there, and it's 23 by 12. You know, when it's full.
And where do we go to get it, Dave?
AFTCO.com.
Nice.
Last but not least, we have the TH Marine lower unit gear lube pump. This will fit on every, 32-ounce gear lube bottle. It makes really changing that gear lube clean and efficient and easy. Drain your lube out, attach your little fitting to the drain there. Put the pump on the bottle, and you just pump it into your gear assembly there, and it fills it right up, and no mess.
So this goes on the bottom.
Correct.
And you fill from the bottom top.
Right.
So you pump it up, and then as it pops out the top, you put your drain screw in or your vent screw in.
Yeah, make sure you put your vent screw in before removing the
I don't know how we did it all, but we got it in.
We're a well-oiled machine. Well-oiled machine, family. All right, the full moon is quickly approaching in the Fish Bites East region, so ironically, our timing is perfect. Tell us what to do, Captain Holiday.
It's true, Brie. The best wahoo fishing in my region takes place 4 or 5 days on either side of the full moon in 200 to 400 feet of water along the drop in the reef, as well as around Push Button Hill and the Steeples area north of Fort Pierce, wherever the reef sticks up high. You'll also find wahoo around floating boards or logs, particularly those that sit deep in the water column. You want to target those wahoo by getting your baits deep, either with a trolling weight or a downrigger or a planer or a wire line. You can pull a double hook ballyhoo or double hook mullet with a red and black or purple and black R&R tackle wahoo magnet, or you can slow troll live blue runners or big mullet. And the average wahoo in my region is going to be like 20 to 40 pounds, but we see them up over 60 pounds. I got a cool wahoo photo here that Mike Long sent me. He got that fish in 200 feet of water off Jupiter, and that fish ate a troll mullet. And then the other thing, we're just kind of rolling into the best blackfin tuna action of the fall. So look for the fish in 100 to 300 feet of water off Palm Beach and Martin counties. A lot of anglers like to stay outside of 150 feet to avoid the sharks. You can drift, slow troll, or deploy a kite, put out a live pilchard or a sardine. Finger mullets work really well this time of the year. Or you can troll small pink, red, or silver feathers or a small cedar plug. A lot of folks will drift and chum with pilchards or use jigging spoons around the busting fish. And the average blackfin in my region is going to be like 15 to 30 pounds. And I got a photo of a huge fish that Bob Perret caught. He got that fish in 260 feet of water off Jupiter, and that fish ate a live finger mullet.
Sure did. Man, that's a nice fish, bud.
Yeah, man.
All right, well, let's go ahead and go inshore.
Yeah, there was an amazing push of mullet early last week from Vero Beach all the way to Jupiter, even into Palm Beach. That's really fired up the snook bite. And along with the extreme high tides that we've had this week, it's moved the fish to the shorelines, docks, and seawalls. There's also been a great nighttime bite around the Old Palm City Bridge and the Lantana Bridge. You want to start your day throwing topwater plugs and saltwater sass and dye dappers, work the shorelines and seawalls, and then as the sun gets up, you just want to run and gun. Run the shorelines looking for mullet activity, mullet getting busted. When you see that, stop, put out a live mullet. And then around the bridges, chartreuse-colored Artemis shad is money at nighttime. Average snook in my region is going to be like 5 to 20 pounds. I got a photo of Jerry Bramberg. He got that nice slot snook along the south side of the St. Lucie Inlet on a live threadfin. He let that fish go. It's kind of nice.
That is nice. All right.
The other thing we got going, the best tarp in action this week has been around the bait schools in the Indian, St. Lucie, and Loxahatchee rivers. Places like the Moorings Channel, Harbor Branch Channel, Big Mud Creek, they're all seeing good fish right now, good concentrations. The keys to find the mullet schools and fish a live or dead mullet along the edges of the bait schools. Don't overlook the nighttime bridge bite for the smaller fish in places like the Fort Pierce Turning Basin, which is just loaded with them right now. Live mullet are the way to go under the lights. Average tarpon in the region, 20 to 80 pounds. And Captain Chris Britton sent me this shot of a nice tarpon his clients caught this Saturday. They got that in the St. Lucie River on a live mullet.
All right, well, just like always, we got to have a bass report, so let's go ahead and roll it out.
Yeah, the water levels are up on Headwaters Lake in Fellsmere. That's got the bass feeding on the flats at first light. I was talking to Captain Nathan Shellen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com. He said to start your day throwing topwater plugs, prop baits, or frogs around the edges of the grass from first light until about 8 a.m. Then it's time to work the transition areas in 4 to 6 feet of water with dark colored jerk baits like a Bass Assassin split tail shad or a vapor shad, or you can even throw like a June bug colored RSB worms. And if numbers are your games, you can find a lot of actions in the ditches and the canals on the outskirts of the Fellsmere Reservoir, throwing a fat job Senko style or a black and blue colored speed worm. Average bass 1 to 4 pounds. And Nathan Shellen sent me this great shot of Josh Mitchell of Tampa. He got that big fish in Headwaters Lake on topwater frog.
All right, bud. Nice. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the T&H Marine hotspots. Thanks, Mike. We'll see you later. Inshore, snook, trout, and redfish on the flats of Bear Point. Fish the schools of mullet. Throw a topwater plug and a sea shad, and then offshore, jumbo mangrove snappers Brie on the reef in 70 feet of water off of South Fort Pierce. Use sardines, cigar minnows, and grunt plugs.
I love Mike just lifts his hands like, I did it. We're through a season. Yep. All right, the Yanmar, ASV Keys, and StarTron Central West regions have some work to do when we come back. But before we go, remember to keep up with everything fishing in Florida during our off season. Head on over to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and of course, to see new fishing adventures along with reports, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy. We'll see you soon.
Don't forget it.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by StarTron. Start, run, and store with StarTron. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Tin Cup, Mountain Whiskey. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. Diamond Fishing Products. Our reputation is on the line. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
Welcome back. You're all just in time to visit the Daiquiri Deck Kitchen and see what scrumptious recipe Rick and Chef have for us this time. Why don't we take a look, Rick?
Oh. So guys, as you can see, I'm here at Daiquiri Deck in the kitchen with my good buddy, Chef Jeremy. Chef, what are we going to do this week? What's on the menu?
Well, today, Rick, we're going to do a Wahoo crudo.
Wahoo crudo.
Crudo, yep.
Crudo.
crudo is raw in Italian and Spanish. So
Okay.
we're gonna basically make a version of like an Italian ceviche, if you will.
Love it.
So we're gonna slice our wahoo really thin.
Wahoo's such a great fish for sushi or ceviche.
Oh yeah, it's so diverse that it'll take on any flavor that you add to it, and that's what's really nice about it.
What are we gonna add to this?
All right, so we're gonna make a little marinade. We're gonna start off with our Jose Cuervo tequila.
Alrighty. This week we're gonna use
We'll do
the
about a
Castellino.
shot or two.
Yep.
All right, and we're gonna add equal parts of lemon juice,
Right.
lime juice,
Nice.
some fresh lime zest,
Okay.
fresh lemon zest, a few jalapeno slices,
Nice.
a little honey for some sweetness. You can use agave, you could use maple syrup if you wanted, a little salt, some fresh pepper. Just gonna give that a stir. All right, then we're gonna add this wahoo right to it.
You just place them in there just so they're
you
flat.
well, and you want to be gentle with it, you know? You don't want to go ahead and scrape it in there, because after we let this marinate for about an hour in your refrigerator, you're going to pull it out, and you want to have the nice pieces together. And we're just going to give that a little stir. Then we're going to put this right in our refrigerator.
All right, so for the sake of TV, why don't we get one out of the fridge that we've already prepared. Oh, look at how the fish is taking on that little bit of
Gets
yellow
a little
color.
opaqueness, Yep, and that's from the acid. It's actually through lowering the pH balance in there. All right. So then we're going to go ahead and plate this.
Okay. While you're doing that, Chef, what kind of drink would you like to pair this with?
Oh, I like a margarita myself. Something a little spicy.
All right, so we're gonna have a jalapeno margarita made with the Jose Cuervo Cristalino, and I can't wait to sample all of this at one time.
There we go. And we're going to just drizzle it with a little more of that sauce.
Right?
All right.
Guys, you can go to our website, the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
A little bit of fresh micro cilantro.
Right.
And then if you'd like, a couple more little jalapeno slices.
Nice. But you can find the recipe on our website, the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We got the jalapeno margarita made with the Jose Cuervo. Doesn't get any better than this.
Good.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Wow, I'm jealous, Rick.
You can't do any better, I promise. This is as good as it gets. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
We appreciate you. Oh. So, Brie, I gotta tell you, wahoo is certainly one of my favorite fish, and I love doing it sushi style like that, and using the juices to cook it.
Mm-hmm.
What I learned on this is, we have sometimes people make a comment that, oh, well, I'll just eat it right after you got it prepared and sliced up and we dipped it in the bowl. When you allow it to be in the cold air conditioning of the refrigerator and it has time to age, like he said,
much better.
that pH balance, it brings it down. Oh, it changes.
That's all you had to say was, oh.
I mean, it wants to make you write a bad check. I mean, it's that good.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Well, kudos to you.
Oh,
gosh, that
maybe
was a pun, and
sometime
you didn't
I'll
even
treat you
get it. Please treat me to it. All right, we've got quite the variety of good-sized species coming out of the Yanmar ASB Keys region this week. So let's see what Captain Sarah Stanzik has us reeling in.
Well, my mouth is watering listening to you guys eat that good food there. The wahoo is one of my favorite fish to eat. But we catch wahoo in the Keys mostly during the winter and spring months when it's colder, but there's always a few around throughout the entire year. A lot of wahoo here are caught eating live baits while we fly kites for sailfish, so they're kind of a bycatch, which is nice. No one complains about a wahoo. But, people high-speed troll to target them, too. Again, as for table fare, they're one of my personal favorite fish to eat, especially sushi, like the best raw sushi fish, one of the best you can get. I actually prefer wahoo over tuna. It's so good. It melts in your mouth like white meat. It's like butter. Very good for sushi or cooked too, but I prefer sushi. So if you are going to go out and target wahoo here in the Keys, one of the best ways to do it is to high-speed troll for them. So you'd use a wire leader and a lure behind the boat. That's a popular method to catch them here. Here's a picture of a nice wahoo we landed. This was a while ago, but it was on the X3 on the Shallow Sport Bay boat. And look at that day. It was slick calm, and that was like a nice wintertime wahoo we caught.
Yep, you sure did. Good job there, girl. All right, what else you got for us offshore?
Moving offshore, we've had a really nice swordfish fight the past week. We had a really good stretch of calm weather, so a lot of people went out and tried their swordfish luck. It's a little bit of a haul to get offshore here. It's 25 to 40 miles, which isn't compared to like some other places in Florida, but here in the Keys, 40 miles is kind of a trip for some people. So a lot of people went out, but we had some good fishing. The best water depth to catch them in is between 15 and 1,800 feet deep. And for bait, we'll use a whole squid or a mahi or a bonito belly strip. It's a little bit of a challenge to go sword fishing, and it takes some practice and some knowledge of how to deep drop and how to drift your boat. But once you get the hang of it, you just got to practice. It's really fun and rewarding. Here's our friend. His name is Nick Matakis, and he's just got into it recently, but he caught this nice swordfish on his own personal boat. It was 361 pounds, so they were really happy.
Well, I can say that'll definitely get you into it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go inshore.
Or make you stop.
Inshore, we've had some tarpon biting the last week. It's been a steady, nice tarpon bite late summer. They put up a great fight. They're fun to catch. They pull really hard. They do jump. They're a popular sport fish to target here in the Keys. They'll eat a lot of flies as well as live and dead bait too, so they appeal to a wide variety of anglers. For live bait fishing, we'll use either live crab or mullet, and we'll fish near the bridges or in the channels where the water's moving well. We like to fish on a outgoing tide. Here's a nice tarpon that was caught and released.
Nice. All right, one to go.
Last one, another one of my personal favorite to eat, triple tail. We'll catch them around the commercial trap buoys in the bay and in the Gulf, or they can kind of just be seen drifting around in the channels and up in the park. You can just sight fish them and cast at them, which is really fun. I like triple tail fishing. It's fun. A live shrimp is one of their favorite baits. So you just have to kind of be stealthy and cast, near them or in front, down current of them, or up current, sorry. So the bait kind of drifts into their face, but not go right on top of them because they'll get spooked. So don't be fooled by their kind of boring brown appearance, but they are some of the best eating fish, white flaky meat you'll ever eat, like my top 3 favorites for sure. So here's a huge, look at the size of this one, a lunker triple tail caught with Captain Jake Turk.
Nice. So I got a question for you, Sarah. We talked about wahoos and how you like to eat them, and swordfish, how you like to eat that, as well as now the triple tails. How do you like to prepare the triple tail?
Oh man, triple tail goes in the frying pan. Like bread it and fry it, and or in the Fry Daddy specifically. I have a Fry Daddy, the deep fryer.
Mm-hmm.
I just like fried triple tail with dipped in some tartar sauce. Like you can't beat that. It's so good.
Do you like any specific seasoning, or what do you use for the batter? Is it flour or Italian breadcrumbs? Give me a little heads up on that.
I like the Progresso Italian breadcrumbs. Exactly. You get them from like Publix or Winn-Dixie with the seasoned Italian Progresso breadcrumbs. That's my go-to.
I know it very well because my favorite way to fry a snook is to put it in Progresso Italian breadcrumbs. We sprinkle a little garlic salt in there and dip it in the Ziploc. All right, well, you did a great job for us this year. We appreciate everything. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport boats, hotspots from the Florida Keys. She says, inshore, redfish bite is good in the park. Just grab some live shrimp, cast along the mangrove shorelines, and look for the fish moving up on the flats. And then offshore, the swordfish action is good, and the multiple fish are being caught on the average trip. A fresh strip bait, as well as rigged, make sure it's rigged real well, and some patience will bring you success for those big swordfish.
It's all about that patience. All right, let's take a look at some tournaments coming up in the Florida Keys.
Shall we?
Yes, we shall. First is the Isla Mirada Fall All-Tackle Bonefish and Permit Championship, October 9th through the 11th in Isla Mirada, where anglers fish for 3 days in 3 divisions, artificial, fly, and baits. Then we have the Chica Lodge's All-American Backcountry Fishing Tournament, November 9th through the 11th, where anglers fish for snook, redfish, bonefish, tarpon, and permit, with proceeds benefiting the Bonefish Tarpon Trust. Next is the Sugarloaf Showdown, November 16th through the 18th, where anglers use spin or fly in the lower Keys to pursue bonefish, permit, and barracuda, with proceeds benefiting the Florida Keys Guides Trust Foundation. And finally is the Isla Mirada Sailfish Tournament, November 30th through December 3rd, and is the first leg on the 2024 Florida Keys Gold Cup Sailfish Championship. For more information on Keys tournaments, go to flakeys.com. I can't believe I just said 2024.
Wow.
Here we go. One more time. All right, before we know it, Wahoo will be all over the Startron Central West region. So let's check in with Captain Jeff Page to see exactly when that will be. Hi, Page.
Yes, it sure will be. You know, I can't believe how fast this season went by. And you know what? We're ending it on a really fast, good-eating species like that Wahoo. You know, in the Gulf, the best time to fish for them, at least in my part of the Gulf, is when that water starts getting cooler, like late December, right on through February, March. That's when those fish are going to stage up, especially if there's big schools of bait. And I'm sure a lot of the guys have already mentioned this. You know, you want to look for the birds, bait schools, and even structure on your machine, because they're going to hold in that area where that bait's holding. And once you find that area, or maybe you caught some the week before, the day before, go back there, and if it's still going off, you can high-speed troll, you can cast free lines out. A lot of different ways at catching them, but the high-speed troll is probably the best way for covering ground. You know, and I've got a photo tonight. It's a really good picture. It's my good friend Captain Dawson Day with a big one he caught right out off New Pass in Sarasota.
Nice. All right, what else got?
Well, you know, with the red grouper closed, everybody's been keying in on the gags, and it's been no disappointment so far, inshore and off, but I'm talking off right now. Probably the #1 species in the Gulf, and the bigger fish have been deeper, Rick. 110 to 200 feet, ledges, hard bottom areas, and you're going to want to bring out a mixture of baits. Bring some live pinfish, big live pilchards, and then even some smaller pilchards for chumming with. And then don't forget the couple boxes of frozen sardines. So many times they'll save a guy's trip if his bait well goes down or the fish are thump nose up to the live baits. I've got a photo. Captain Tim Note and his crew from Gulf Coast Ventures have been scoring their limit on gags with live pinfish and grunts as well. And I've got a really nice gag photo tonight from Captain Tim No of Gulf Coast Ventures.
Nice. All right, let's go inshore, Bubba.
Inshore, snook season open in my region, September 1st. And the cool thing about snook fishing this time of year in the Startron Central West region is you've got your choice. You can fish at night for them, and you're going to get bigger fish. Seems like those bigger fish, when the water's still up in the 80s, are feeding better at night, and you're going to have a lot more peace and quiet out there on the water, be it by land or by boat. Venice Jetty is a great place, North Anna Maria with a rod and reel pier, and then all your little bridges like Little Gasparilla, Longboat Pass, and then the New Pass Bridge is a really good one, and it's not that deep. Live ladyfish, silver mullet, cast them up current and let them come back with the current free line, and a lot of times you'll get to see the snook come up and eat it. A good buddy of mine also told me don't forget the big needlefish. Sometimes that big needlefish, and he can die, and you can bring him down current and pull him and almost twitch him like a lure. Speaking of lures, if it's lures you're into throwing, it's tough in the early morning hours to not throw that Jaywalker 120 in the bone pattern or a subsurface bait that you turned me on to, Rick, that Juke 110, and I like that one in the chrome pattern because I can flash it under the surface. All the oyster bars and grass flats around Longbar Point, Emerson Point, Rattlesnake Key, and then down south around Catfish Creek and Widdens Creek have produced good snook. And I've got a really pretty snook picture tonight of my good friend Wade Master, Frankie Lippert.
All right.
Nice.
My last species tonight, you know I'm just a trout fisherman, so I had to end it with my favorite fish to catch, speckled trout. And you know what? It's not just my favorite, but like I've heard you mention before, Rick, it's probably the most fished species in the state of Florida. And you know, the cool thing about this time of year is the fish that were laying out there in that 6-8 feet of water now have moved in a little bit because the water has started to cool. We're getting afternoon rains and the days are getting shorter. So the number one bait I have found this year, and I've really gotten to be pretty good with it, is putting a white gulp shrimp or a fish bite about 3 feet under a 4 Horseman popping cork and throwing that out over the grass flats, especially where there's lots of sizzle bait, lots of small pilchards on top. Pop that cork, and then let it sit. And if it's a little choppy, that up and down motion of the waves is going to move that bait, and them trouts are going to take it down. If you like throwing the topwater, Jaywalker 100 in the chrome pattern. Don't be surprised if you get a Spanish mackerel, bluefish, ladyfish while you're fishing for them. Last photo tonight, and it's a good kid photo. Captain Gary Tuna Breath Huffman with a whole army of kids with all speckled trout.
He had them definitely with him, buddy. Thank you so much for your hard work this year, Captain Page. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri deck hotspots. Captain Page says, inshore, lots of snook feeding on the big schools of pilchards and threadfins along the beaches from Venice Fishing Pier south to Stump Pass. Use live free-line pilchards or fly fish them with small to medium-sized white clousers. And then offshore, he talked about it, the big gag groupers they're holding on the ledges and hard bottom in areas of 90 to 150 feet of water off of Anna Maria. Man, I'd love to go catch a big gag like that, Brie.
You don't say.
I would.
You say every week. One day it'll happen. All right, let's show our support for Florida's fisheries with a Conserve Florida's Fisheries license plate. For just $25, proceeds for the redfish tag support protecting and enhancing Florida's saltwater marine resources, habitat restoration, water quality, and, of course, coastal environmental education. Make sure you visit your local DMV or visit redfishtag.com. Right now, we're taking a bite out of the Casa Vieja Southwest region when we come back, so make sure you keep those lines tight, and we'll see you soon.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Island Lures. Tournament Tackle. The IGFA. Every fish, every water, every angler since 1939. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. Real Legends. Available at bellsflorida.com. Dynapack. Your partner on the road. And Taco Marine. Troll the edge.
Today I would like to go over a little more advanced technique when using a power pole shallow water anchor. First thing I do when leaving the dock is pay attention to the wind direction and the sun. My goal is to fish all shorelines, flats, or docks with the wind and the sun at my back. Doing this gives me the best shot at sneaking up on fish and spotting them from further away. It also dramatically increases my casting distance. Throwing with the wind as opposed to casting directly into the wind is another key tip. Another advantage to approaching spots like this, when I'm working an area with the wind at my back, I do not have to use my trolling motor nearly as much. I also don't have to turn it up on higher speeds, which reduces hole slap and other noises that could spook fish. I'm trying to be as stealthy as possible and let the wind push me down a shoreline, giving me the best advantage possible. When I see a fish or I hook up, I deploy the power pole silently in the water. My boat remains facing downwind, even with a single power pole anchor. Next time you're out on the water, fish with the wind and the sun at your back, and I guarantee your catches will go up. That's your power pole tip.
You know, Brie, he's a tremendous fisherman. I had him down here filming a Sportsman's Adventure episode, and I was thoroughly impressed. So when he says reducing hole slap and fishing downwind, he knows.
He knows.
He knows.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it, guys. All right, there might be a Wahoo or two around in the Casa Vieja Southwest region, so let's see how we might target them with Captain Ronnie Houston.
Well, Rick, being this Rick and Brie is the last show of the season, definitely got to thank the sponsors. Got to thank the captains who helped me along through the season, but most of all, the weekend angler who depends on this show and our reports on a weekly basis. It's been a pleasure. Now, when we talk about the Wahoos, like Bree said, you know, it's not a common target in the region, whether you're fishing 100 feet or 400 feet of water. But if you do decide to try it, trolling is probably going to be one of the better methods. Looking for areas of bait, weed lines, birds, and especially areas where there are flying fish. Now, trying this method when out on bottom fishing and moving from spot to spot, I strongly recommend large lip plugs, feathers in dark colors, or even trolling ballyhoos. But also, while in these certain areas bottom fishing, doesn't hurt to have some chum out the back and flatlining large live baits, and the end result is a lucky wahoo that was caught in the region, a good-sized wahoo that was caught this year by working that method. Now, still in the offshore report, the bite that's been consistent probably most of the year has been the permit. That bite's been consistent from Marco to Fort Myers Beach, fishing wrecks and artificial reefs. Now, with air temps and water temps, this bite will continue until water temps will start to cool as we come into fall. But looking for the fish on top with light winds or hitting most noted structure and anchoring up and even making several drifts in and around the structure is probably going to be your best bet. If you can get the live crabs, that's going to be your best bet. But if not, you can use bucktails, tip with shrimp, as well as we're coming to the fall, should be getting some bigger shrimp. Live shrimp will also work. There's the permit that was recently caught in the last couple of days, and this guy's been on them all year, Captain West Bedell. As we go inshore, the snook. You know, with the season open, there's been a really impressive snook bite up in the north end of the region. Now, there's a couple different ways to target them right now from Sanibel to Charlotte Harbor. You can fish docks using live pilchards, herring, or pinfish, but you're going to have to use a little heavier tackle that's going to be involved. I strongly recommend 50-pound braid, minimum of 40 up to 60-pound fluorocarbon. You're going to be using those 3/0 to 5/0 circle hooks, or up in the north end, you can use a little lighter tackle and fish mangrove shoreline points with current combined with fry bait. Now, still using either live pilchards and live pinfish, but you can also use topwater walk the dog lures like my favorite, and it's been favorite ever since I started using it, Berkeley J. Walker 120, or a variety of 4 to 5 inch swim baits like the Bass Assassin Die Dapper. Prime example over the weekend, I had the opportunity to guide an event with the Alta Equipment guys, fishing the Slam tournament. There's a couple nights, snook, upper slide snook, caught in the region. All those fish were caught on live pinfish. The last species is going to be the redfish. Now, to the south, looks like the reds are really starting to move in on the outer Gulf Islands right now from Round Key to the south, but on the lower stages of the tide seem to be better and concentrating on the outside point. As the water gets higher, concentrate on deadwood along the shoreline. Now, to the north, Pine Island Marina to York Island, want to concentrate on fishing mid-incoming to high along the mangrove shorelines. Now, in both cases, north to south, you can use cut ladyfish, cut mullet, live pinfish, and pilchards, but also a variety of topwater walk the dog lures, gold spoons, artificial shrimp, and 4-inch paddle tails on the jig head. And I got another nice fish while guiding that event over the weekend with the Alta Equipment guys, fishing that Slam tournament. There's a nice oversized slot, and I want to thank Serenity Bait and Tackle. I don't throw a net anymore. I just throw plugs. They provided all the pinfish to make those guys successful in that tournament over the weekend.
So, Ronnie, got a quick question. You know, what was your game plan in this tournament? I know you guys placed third with those guys. What was the game plan going in, bub?
Well, the game plan was real simple. I didn't go up there and fish during the week. I didn't go the day before. I just run what I know. I run by what I tell people on a weekly basis while fishing up in the north end of the region and the south end of the region. I've had the opportunity to work on this show for a little over 20 years. I run the whole region, so it's basically common knowledge to me. I just threw out the dice. We took a third-place finish.
Absolutely, bud. You have been here since the day we started, and we appreciate all your hard work over the years. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Serenity Bait Company hotspots from the Southwest region. Ronnie says inshore, all the trout you want, from the Ragala Keys to Wood Key, fishing potholes and grass with noise-making corks along the soft plastic paddle tails and shrimp, and then offshore to red snappers from Marco to Fort Myers Beach and 140 feet and beyond. Keep an eye out for the open days throughout the end of the year. What he means by that is they keep adjusting a lot of that red snapper season, so you just got to pay attention to the rules and regulations because they may add some more days for us.
There you go. That'd be nice.
That's be
You know,
cool.
Ronnie is an OG from the show.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like one of the originals, along with who else?
Jeff Page.
Jeff Page.
Pat Deneen.
Three. Pat Deneen. Ronnie Houston.
Ronnie Houston, yeah.
Yeah,
Ronnie
three.
Page and Pat Deneen. That's
There
it.
you go.
Because we added some regions.
Yeah.
The first year it was only 1 hour. It wasn't
First year.
First year.
Wow. And you know what? Just like that, the reports are in this year, and it's a wrap for the 2023 season. But as promised, we have our winner for the photo contest we'll be announcing when we return. So stay with us a few more minutes. We'll be right back.
Me and Dave, too.
Well, here we are, Rick and Dave. We received some great photos with big fish and most importantly, big smiles. And we finally have our winner. So please, gentlemen, drum roll. It is David Sosa. He is the proud new owner of this exclusive signed Guy Harvey 500th episode print. Look at all those kids with big smiles. That wins every time. Congratulations. And thank you to all who participated. But you know what? Gentlemen, what a great season. Thank you for
20th season. How
co-hosting
about
with me. Make sure you check out our website, all of our social stuff to keep up with us during the off season. Thank you to everybody, fans, crews,
and don't forget the audio reports.
Audio reports too. We'll see you next year in April. Bye.